Even more guests, a myriad of teams already signed up, and an in-depth look at the RevenYOU League. This is RevenYOU TV. Welcome everyone, I am Maurits Meeuwsen and I will be your host here today. I will also be joined in the venue by our co-host Mattia Koolhout, who will be interviewing some very interesting guests today.
Thank you, Maurits. Indeed, I'm here at the venue and I'm here to co-host the show. I have some very interesting guests to interview and I'm really looking forward to what they're going to say today.
Yeah, thank you, Mattia. But before we go on to these other guests, first the two guests here with me at the table, two of the co-founders of RevenYOU. The third founder will be given plenty of attention later on. So first, Colin, Michiel, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, well, I'm Colin. I'm, so as you mentioned, one of the co-founders of RevenYOU. And yeah, I love swimming. I love being with my family, with my wife and my daughter. And I have another daughter coming. So this is very exciting for me. And then I also really love to be busy with this, with working on this great platform and this roller coaster where we're in.
Very well. Michiel?
Yes, Michiel Stokman, of course, co-founder. Yes, the family guy too, and I think I'm the inventor of the team. I invent since not when I was born, but I think from the 8 years old or something, is still going on. Today was, and especially last week, was an amazing ride. So the platform, it's open, everybody can trade, it's amazing.
So can you tell me a little, before we go talk about RevenYOU a little bit more in depth, can you talk about last week, because I've heard you guys had a great experience there. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, well, it's on so many factors. I think the best thing was we had some, early this week, had some technical problems, and then just the subscribers came in so fast, and we're now, I think we're up to 700 something. So it's so great, and it's rising and it's rising. So it's amazing.
Yeah, so a lot of participants ready. But first, before we go talk about the league later on, let's talk a little bit about RevenYOU, because you guys, together with Stefan, who we'll be talking to later, came up with the RevenYOU League. Can you explain to me how you guys thought of the idea, how it was created?
Yeah, well, actually, last year we have thought of an algorithm ourselves, and we have tweaked it, and we made some calculations, and it looked very, very promising. So we have decided to build this and to put it in an algorithm, and we asked Stefan, the other founder of RevenYOU at this moment, to program it for us. And then we had this algorithm and it was not working that good, so we were looking for alternative ways to find very good algorithms, and we found some, but they are very, it's not accessible, and you have to search and look, and you have to tweak, and you have to know a lot about this at this moment. So we thought, can there be something much more easier than this hard way of working to get your algorithm going on? So this is where RevenYOU started.
Yeah. Yeah, so for me it was also the beginning of a great team. I'm an entrepreneur for almost 20 years, no, more than 20 years already. And this team, it connected, so we had to really invest in this and be together. And with RevenYOU, you have this amazing opportunity to do something like, we can compare it with YouTube. You know, you had this normal TV, it was closed, they made TV. And then YouTube opened it all for the rest of the world. Everybody could watch TV, but also can make TV. And now it's so much bigger than any TV station in the world. And that's, in essence, that's what RevenYOU is doing. We do what the banks do and the investment bankers do, but then we open it up for everybody. So that ride with the three of us, and of course our team grew in the time much bigger. But it was the opportunity was you cannot do that not, you know.
Yeah, well, nice way to phrase that. So to reiterate, RevenYOU is a way to make cryptocurrency trading accessible to everyone. So
not only cryptocurrency trading, this platform is also for trading stocks and forex and all kind of markets, which will be added to the platform in the upcoming years.
Yeah, so initially only crypto, but you guys are planning to expand it later on. So you were also mentioning about making it accessible. Can you explain to me a little bit more? Because trading in of itself is kind of a scary thing, and especially algorithms are also kind of scary if you don't know a lot about tech. So can you talk a little bit more to me about that accessibility?
Yeah, well, if you have at this moment, when you want to start trading in stocks or something, you have to go to a platform, and then or you have to subscribe to have access to a platform. You find all these bells and whistles. It's very difficult, and then you have to have a few years of experience to make good trades after you have watched a lot of tutorials how you do these trades on your platform. And this whole part of getting known of a system with a system and getting all this trading experience, we whole skip that and we just put it in an app for the user. It will be very easy for everybody in the world to just choose a strategy and play it for themselves.
Yeah, so that's
without knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. So even without any prior knowledge. So that's the experience of the user.
Yeah.
Now a little bit more about the experience of because there needs to be a significant like back end, something that is powering revenue. So can you talk to me a little bit more about the portal RevenYOU League, which already has over, like you said, over 700 participants, and is still available for sign up at RevenYOU.io. So if you haven't yet and you're watching this, make sure you do sign up. But can you talk to me a little bit about that portal?
Well, we actually call it portal. Of course, it is a portal, but we call it portal. It's the name. And the portal is like a toolbox where you can make everything you want as long as it's an algorithm or a library. And you can test it, you can program it, you can just go on until it's really proven. And you can when you think it's really good because you tested it for many years of data, for example 2 years of data or 3 years of data, you know it's really good, then you submit it to the rest of the world, and then everybody else in the world can, with a click or with a tap, can use your algorithm.
Yeah, so thank you. So it's the toolbox that you can use as a developer to create algorithms which users can then use themselves. So for a little bit more about this, we've already mentioned him a couple of times. The third co-founder of RevenYOU, Stefan, is going to tell us a little bit more about this portal.
Yes, I am joined with Stefan, also co-founder of RevenYOU.
Yep.
And, well, can you introduce yourself a little bit?
I'm one of the co-founders of RevenYOU. I'm the technical guy behind the RevenYOU. So I created this platform. We call it the portal. And in the portal, you can build your algorithm. So this is where we're going to start. We have once you perform a backtest, you can see all your data is going to be into this graph. If we go up by a little bit. Then you have your coding part here, where we use our own language.
Yeah, what is this language? Is that
we
made up?
Yeah, we create our own language. We call it UScript. And UScript is like a C language. So everyone who's familiar with C, C++, Python, or a combined language of those, you can just execute it here. So it's kind of basic. You don't need years of training of coding, or you can just do it in a couple of hours, you can learn it. That's why we create this step to be as low as possible. And you can walk through your code. We got a step in debugger, what we call it. So if you got a bug or something, you can walk through it and see what's going on and why it's wrong, etc. And your output will be performed in the console. And if we go to the next one, to the library, because now we have the league, and with the league we want to be fair, so we're not going to use other libraries than the technical analysis library. This will be the only one for now. So later you can create your own libraries, but we're going to talk about in a couple of months, I think. If we go to settings, you can perform your backtest. So every time you change something, you click on backtest, and your data will be shown in the graph. And if you're going to go live, once you probably click on the live button, you're going to submit your code for the leak. And you got a simulation mode where you run your code, but not with actual money. So you perform it with the current trading data that's coming from the exchanges. If we go to pairs, we got all pairs. If you want to go for exchange or a different exchange, you can set it as a pair, like a Bitcoin, US dollar, for example. You can give it a start date and end date, and the period of time you want to perform on. So it could be an hour, a day, 50 minutes. And we go to the last one. This is where every time you press the backtest data, it will be showed here into your history, where you can just go back to what code changes you made. And this is basically the overview of our portal system.
Yeah, so it's very usable for everyone.
Yep, that's what we try to create.
Okay, well, thank you very much for this brief explanation. And then we go back to the studio.
Yeah, thank you for that, Matja, and thank you, Stefan, for a clear explanation about even, you guys said it as well, accessibility is important for the users, but it's also important for the developers. So there's not a very high barrier of entry, even if you're a beginning coder.
Yeah, we have to make it very easy for everybody. So this use script, what Stefan has created, what he mentioned is some people can learn it in an hour, some people take a little bit longer, but yeah, it's not a hassle. You can do it very easily.
Yeah, so it's fairly based. So I've also heard that you guys are not using AI for the revenue leak. We'll be talking about how the leak is structured later on, but for now, because that's if you have any prior knowledge of algorithms. That's probably coming as kind of a surprise. Can you guys explain why it's usually used, and more specifically, why you guys chose not to use it?
We chose to, well, the jury chose to exclude it mainly because of I think the level of access. You want to give access to as many people as possible on the one hand, and create a fair level playing field for everybody. AI is becoming democratized and easier every minute, but still, in some countries, it's quite difficult. It can be expensive. Computers can be expensive. So that's mainly the reason of the jury to not go with AI yet. Of course, in our strategy, it's full AI.
Yeah, so once the actual app launches, you're using AI, but now for the leak, you will choose not to because you say it's not very accessible.
Yeah, and because we want to create well, it is accessible, but we want to create a level playing field. So it should not depend on people having more money to invest in tools like machine learning tools and AI. And some people, they don't. So we want to have a completely level.
Yeah, well, accessibility in a broader sense, right? Not just like, can you get it, but also how easily is it to get if you are, say, from another country where you're not as easily accessible.
Well, it was a big debate, however. It was a big debate.
Well, thank you for mentioning that, because a person who has a very strong opinion on that will be shown in a video now why they should have included AI. So that should be an interesting watch.
Good morning, Paul.
Morning, Michiel.
We're at the Technical University of Delft.
Yeah.
Special place, the Green Village. I'm surrounded by hyperloops. As we started, there was a problem. Well, as actually you heard that our jury, in order to make a level playing field for everybody, we excluded the machine learning and artificial intelligence. And you went, what's this?
I went bananas. I mean, this is just terrible. Because just starting machine learning and deep learning, especially recently, we have so much computing power, we have so much data, and these things are amazingly good at finding complex patterns and complex data, much better than humans can, a lot better than humans can. Yeah. So excluding this, specifically financial data, it's so complex. There's human behavior, there's the markets going all kinds of directions, media also getting involved and influencing the people and the markets. It's so complex.
Economics is a social science.
It's a social science.
It's our strategy to include machine learning, artificial intelligence.
Yes.
Okay, for this first leak, we excluded it, but from 2019, we're open for everybody in the world with AI, with machine learning. Do you have some tips for guys who are up and girls, of course, are willing and going?
Especially girls. Yeah, very good. Definitely, Michiel. So I think the main thing here is for people to get familiar with the libraries they're going to use. So I would recommend TensorFlow in combination with Keras, Python, for example. You can very quickly develop your models and very quickly train them on a lot of data, and then especially start building your data sets early, because machine learning algorithms, they are there, you can import them, you can use them, you can develop the models very easily, but the big weak spot is always the data sets.
In 1.4 seconds we can do 3 years of data in our system. Is it enough data, you think?
Yeah, definitely. And there are also ways to augment the data. So there are data augmentation techniques. If you think of images, because it's always the easiest, you can rotate an image, you can mirror it, you can change the colors. You can also do this with financial data. So you can sort of change the size of the window you're looking at. You can change the type of data, you can change the skills and just make sure that it's still representative, but you can do a lot. And you have things like transfer learning. For those who are a bit more familiar with machine learning, this is where you have a model that's already learned to do a similar task, and then you give it new data, and very quickly it will learn to do a task that is very similar with less data.
You're saying that once you've got the rhythm going, the next steps, the next algorithms, the next machine learning bits are much faster and easier with little data?
Yes, exactly. So let me give a visual example again, because this is the most powerful, I think. So we can, very powerful models we can make now in recognizing, for example, cancer on X-ray images.
Yes.
But then if you want to recognize a similar thing, maybe not one type of cancer, but another type of cancer, you need a lot less data to start recognizing this, because the model already knows what a human looks like. It knows how to detect objects in the image, but then just you need to detect different objects. So in the financial market, I mean, if you can think of similar data, similar time series data, and you can train a model on this, maybe train it on the traditional markets. We have 100 years of data.
Yes, of course.
Well, crypto goes a lot faster, but we can fit this. So,
and we work hard on going to all the market exchanges in the world.
Definitely.
So it's
but the internet is very rich. I think the creative part is accessing all the data and putting it in one place.
In 1602 the VOC started the exchange.
Yeah, so
we have some data sets.
Find the old trade books, open them, scan them. Go ahead, go nuts. Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Paul.
You're welcome, Michiel. Nice talking to you.
Bye.
Yeah, so there are someone who disagreed with the call to not include AI, but let's not talk about that much more. So, because you guys feel like go with the side with the jury there, it's a good decision. Just accessibility is key to revenue, and we're going to do that on the back end as well.
Yeah. Level playing field.
So, onto that level playing field. Before we go in depth about the practicalities of the RevenYOU League, do you guys have any tips or any strategies or anything that you want to give out to anyone who's watching? Right, because you keep saying it's very accessible. And if you're a software developer, you don't know anything about trading, just go write stuff. But if you don't have any knowledge, can you guys give a little bit of headspace there?
I could name one. Go to the library. You know, the old-fashioned one.
The actual library.
Yeah, the actual one.
Okay.
They tend to be very nice and lovely. And silent. Go to the old books, the Wall Street books. We started crypto, and the crypto looks a bit like the early days of Wall Street. There are a lot of things you can learn there. But you can, of course, you also need to go to GitHub and many places on the internet where you can, and YouTube, where you can learn about algorithms.
Yeah, so number one, go to the library to build more libraries.
Don't forget about your computer.
Colin?
Yeah, well, it's also very important to make sure that you use multiple API connections in your algorithm. So you can see that as a cable as wide as it is, there much more information can come through. So and you're not relying on only one channel of information, but here's information coming in, here's it sent out. So if you use multiple API connections, this will benefit your algorithm as well.
Very well. So libraries, multiple APIs. Michiel?
Yeah, for example, when there's volume, when there's, let's say, Ethereum is very low in volume, and suddenly the volume rises, then you need a lot of information. That's one example why APIs work then. Very good. I think Humo, the jury member, also said it, work structured. Build your algorithm modular. There is a backlog, you can see it, but also analyze per item, work in structures. You will forget what happened. Yeah, so much will happen.
You'll watch it back and you'll be like, I have no idea what code I wrote there.
Yeah, really.
It's an easy trap to fall into.
And when you change something, change one thing and then analyze.
Very well. And with that, we will next be moving to the RevenYOU League. How does it work? What are the phases? And maybe most importantly, what's the prize money? Depending on what your motivation is. So we'll be back in a second. Welcome back, everyone, to RevenYOU TV. I'm joined here by Colin and Michiel, two of the co-founders of RevenYOU, and we are going to be talking specifically about the RevenYOU League. So we've talked about RevenYOU, we've talked about what the platform is and what it's designed to do. And now, first, what is the RevenYOU League? So this is for anyone who has not, because like you said before, over 700 people already signed up. Still open at RevenYOU.io, so if you're interested and you're not signed up yet, please do so. But tell me, what is the RevenYOU League?
The RevenYOU League, RevenYOU is the open system where everybody can trade finance automatically.
Yes.
So what we need is algorithms, and we need the best algorithms. We need a lot of good algorithms, and the RevenYOU League is the biggest league in the world for the finance algorithms. That's basically what it is. Can I say the prize money now?
Yeah. Feel free.
It's you say.
Yeah, well, we give away 1,000 Ethereum. So
And,
that's a big prize.
It's almost $500,000 at this moment.
But there's also another very big benefit of this RevenYOU League. This is the way we can show the world our working product, and we can show the world what our platform is capable of. Now we have a lot of teams signed up, and when the results are coming, then we show all kinds of revenues, types of algorithms, and this will benefit all the people who have a little bit of money in spare to trade with it.
Yeah, so it's a way to show the feasibility of the product that you guys developed while simultaneously creating a back end for it to work on.
Yeah. Basically, with the league, this is the first league. We will continue after this league. The first league is one phase is the signing up period, and then phase 2 is what we call the virtual trading phase. That's what we talk about today, and it's where everybody can join. And after phase 2, there's only a top 10 that will continue and go to phase 3, and that these top 10 teams will trade with real money.
So let's talk a little bit more about these phases. So you're saying sign-up phase. What dates should we have in mind? And you already said anyone can join. Can you explain that a little more clearly if you're thinking of signing up?
Well, you can sign up today, of course, but you have also another month to sign up. But if you sign up later in the process, you will get a sort of a little bit of a handicap, because you cannot get to know the platform before you launch. You submit your algorithm. So the people who signed up the earliest are most beneficial of figuring out how our portal is working.
And they can ask us questions.
Yeah.
When the first ones, we have more time, more. So we just ask us questions when you're making your algorithms. Chat with us.
So that's phase 1, sign up. And till how long does that continue? When does phase 2 start, and what does that entail?
In the planning, the phase 2 ends at 5 October.
So that's the end, but phase 2 starts from what day onwards? We start from July 15th, so next week. So then from that point, we can get started?
Yep.
And that's when phase 2 starts, and then it ends the 5th of October?
Yep.
November.
5th of November. Okay, so that's a month longer. So for all of you guys who are like, I'm really swamped for the next week, but maybe if it's still November, I can make it. Okay, so phase 2, virtual money. And in the phase 2 is already, we can see it behind me here as well. Phase 2 is already when the prize money starts being distributed. Colin, can you explain to me how that happens? Because we see here 5 random teams, everyone can win, but maybe it's good to explain. Yeah,
well, of course, the algorithms with the best ROI will get the prizes. So the top 3 of algorithms with the best revenue, they win 6 Ethereum each team. And then we have, for 2 teams, we have the sort of an innovation prize. When they make a big comeback, or they have great results, or they are very innovative way, or they are very durable, or they keep track of the market in a special way, then we can say, well, and this is about what the jury members will tell, and they also get a prize for it.
Yeah, so top 3 teams in terms of ROI, and 2 teams are like more of a jury thinks you're doing something innovative, something that we haven't seen before.
Something amazing.
Yeah. Something amazing. Like it's more of a broad general. Then also 5 random teams.
Yeah.
So that means
everybody who joins the RevenYOU League makes the chance of winning the prizes. So everybody can benefit, even if your algorithm is less better than other teams.
Yeah. So then you have the chance of winning €3,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, currently, right?
Yeah.
Let's hope Ethereum only goes up.
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone can still join during phase 2. Everyone can have a shot at these prizes. But then, as we can see there as well, top 10 winners of phase 2. So phase 2 ends 5th of November. What happens then in phase 3?
Yeah, well, then they start. Then the algorithms start working with real money. So every team that goes to the finals, they receive €1,000 of playing money, and in the end of this period, by the 1st of February, the algorithms with the best ROI, they win the big prize money.
Yeah, so to go into that big prize money, as we can see here, even 4th to 7th is nothing to scoff at. I mean, 35 Ethereum is already a pretty sizable sum. But looking at those top 3 prizes, that's probably what you're going for if you're a developer and going.
Yes, and that's of course it's not all. You've got those algorithms, right? So, and we've got a lot of investors. So we have these ICO going on. We will raise 35 million. We have all those investors waiting to start in February. The app will go live. So your algorithm will continue to earn money for you.
Yeah, and perform. So,
yes.
But this is only for the top 10, right? So might not be attainable for most. But as you said before, can win before that as well, if you're lucky or if you're doing really well beforehand.
Yeah. And what's also very important thing is when you join the RevenYOU League now, so you can still sign up, you're the first with placing the algorithms on our platform when we actually go live. And when you compare it to the App Store, the first apps in the beginning, there wasn't much competitors. So your algorithms will, so that the apps can be found more easily. So this is also the same with our RevenYOU platform. If you are early starter with creating these algorithms, there are less competitors. So you will be shown up much easier. So you get a fair chance to get rich with your algorithm.
Yeah, so move in quick over at RevenYOU.io and make sure that you join while it's still phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3, so a little bit further in the future. We talked about the prize that you can get for being innovative, and we also talked about the person responsible for making sure there's no AI. We have an interview with that person, so we're going to give it to Mattia, who's going to have a talk and see what the reasoning behind those decisions was.
Thank you, Maurits. I'm joined with Ulmo, jury of the
RevenYOU League.
That one. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Ulmo Christiaanse. I'm 32 and I love trading.
Trading. What are you? How are you involved in the RevenYOU League?
I was invited by the CEO, and they scouted me on LinkedIn. And I saw a huge potential in this project, and I was very honored when they asked me to be a jury member.
So what, you say you see a huge potential. Can you say what you saw?
I see a system that is really big in its potential, and I mean that in a different sense. It brings the possibility of profit to people who hadn't before. Like you have 25 euros and you're in Kenya and you download the app. You start trading with algorithms who designed someone else designed. And yeah, then that's intensely powerful. It can level the playing field so good. And then the team really inspired me. And I have amazing fellow jury members. It is just one sensational event.
When did you start trading? How did you get into trading?
2014, 2013. I was learning, something about machine learning, a little bit AI, this kind of things. And then I discovered cryptocurrencies afterwards, and I thought this matches perfectly. And so I started investigating and trading, and first making a lot of mistakes, and afterwards deciding humans are not well equipped for this. Let's see if a computer can do it. And I found a lot of algorithms. I fell just in love with algorithms.
Okay, and how are you involved in the RevenYOU League then?
I'm a jury member. And we have a quite big response from the community. There were like hundreds of more applications in 4 days than we expected. So to level the playing field, we, as a jury, not myself only, the whole jury decided to extend the period 1 month longer of phase 2.
Okay, so that's great news.
Yes. Then that gives the opportunity for the developers to have more time to develop the algorithm to a higher standard.
Yeah. Was there more that you want to share about the dates?
The dates, we're going live the 15th with the first phase.
15th of
July. Then you have a period where they develop and submit all the trading algorithms, develop. That extended 1 month longer, and afterwards we will be going with the real money test.
Okay.
And that's my real expectation. Who will perform good, what algorithms, which teams. I will be like the linchpin between the development community and the other side, the platform. So if they need help with libraries or anything, then I will be helping them.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Good luck with judging everything. And then we go back to the table in the studio.
Yeah, thank you, Mattia, for that interview. And thank you, Ulmo, for explaining to us what the reasoning was behind and explaining something about the jury. So let's go a little bit deeper into these rules. And as Ulmo said, one big change that already was made is that the period is being extended. So initially it was 5th of October. It's now being extended to 5th of November. What are the other rules that are associated with the RevenYOU League?
Yeah, well, every team can submit 5 algorithms. So if you have one algorithm which is doing quite good, you can still work on other algorithms to make sure that even your algorithm outperforms your other algorithm, so you make a bigger chance of winning, so you have more chance.
For the ones who still want to submit, a team can be of 1 and can be of more than 1.
Yeah, so
that's
another
rule, important rule. You've got a lot of freedom.
Yeah, so up to 5 bots. You can also, I assume you can also submit less, but why would you? Because there's no downside to submitting more, right?
No.
Oh, that's very, very nice of you.
Well, these 5 algorithms, what's a big benefit of our platform is you can do the backtesting, and we have set the period for the backtesting on 2 years of data.
Yeah, so 2 years of data that you basically gain access to use if you are a developer. So something else that I'm wondering about is, so you're a developer, you joined this, your algorithm does really well. Aren't you running the risk of people copying your algorithm or trying to, use it in any other way?
Well, you could. The only way you could copy it is by reverse engineering it. So and then you have to see everything that the other will do, and we don't give that information. We also don't give the code information, the coding away. So even the jury cannot access the code.
Yeah, so code is completely protected.
Yes.
No one has access to your algorithms. Yeah. Okay, so we already talked shortly about jury is going to decide, which teams do well. We haven't really talked about how we decided who's going on to phase 3. So again, to reiterate, top 10 people who perform well in phase 2 go to phase 3. So can you explain that for me, Colin? Because we have the formula here on the screen.
Well, you can submit an algorithm till, for example, the 1st of August. You can do it a little bit later, but then you get a little bit of a handicap, because from the 1st of August you have still 63 days level, because your algorithm has to work 63 days, and then we can give a really good score.
Colin, sorry. Since they postponed it for 1 month, you have 1 month extra. So it's, let's say it's the end of August. It's plenty of time.
End of August.
Go and test and back test and develop for a month longer.
Yeah, as long as you run for the 63 days, then you're solid.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
63 days.
Yeah,
yep.
so what's very important is how we rate these algorithms. It's, of course, of the high returns and the low volatility. So this is the math behind the calculation which algorithm will win and goes to the finals.
Okay, so trying to get something as stable as possible while also generating a lot of revenue.
Yeah.
That's like the idea behind what you're trying to do as a team joining the league.
Yeah, of course, and the best way, of course, is to have a very high return with the lowest risk possible.
Yeah, you don't want something that might hit the jackpot and be like you're in a casino,
well,
right?
If it's very high, you will end high, and if the end is timed right, then you will end high. Yeah. Then you could make a chance with a high profile, but you know.
Yeah. So. We've now really talked about how does it work, what phases are there, what is the prize money, which is an important of itself. Already over 700 people, if I'm correct, have signed up currently for the RevenYOU League. Sign-ups are still open over at RevenYOU.io. And with that, we've talked a lot about RevenYOU, we've talked about the league. And after a short break, we will return with the teams, which really are the core of the league. So short break, and then we're going to see some interviews with some of the competitors on the RevenYOU League. And we are back here, a small time error there, to start off phase 3. You're part of the, phase 3 of the competitors, so your top 10 competitors. Hopefully the people we're going to talk to now are some of these top 10 competitors. I'm really curious to see who Mattia has here for us.
Yes, I'm here with Ola. Can you tell something about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hello, I'm Ola Mazurowska, and I'm coaching and representing the Ada Lovelace team in the competition of the RevenYOU League.
Ada Lovelace, where does that come from, that name?
Well, that's really interesting. She was actually one of the first women in the world who studied, and she invented programming way before the computers were invented. So that's
very impressive.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Can you tell me something about your team?
Well, we are a group of 6 people from all of Europe, because I'm from Poland. We have members from Spain, from Netherlands. And some of them are professional traders, some of them are programmers, coders. Yeah, that's our team.
What is your motivation to join this competition?
Well, the motivation was like idea of RevenYOU was something what we liked, because that's the opportunity for people, for all of the world to make money instead of banks, and that was pretty motivating for us to join the competition.
And as a team leader, do you have any strategies?
Yeah, of course we have strategies. We have 5 of perfect strategies, but I cannot tell you anything. You know, that's a secret.
Yes, you don't want to spill it already.
No, I cannot do it.
Well, thank you very much for your time. And then with that, we go back to the studio.
Yeah, thank you, Mattia, and thank you, Ola, for being available to interview. So that's one of the teams, but over 700 participants in a very short amount of time, because I personally know that like a week ago it was way lower, so that's gone very rapidly. How do you guys feel about that? Because it must be really exciting, because I imagine even though you're very confident in your product, it's also always kind of, you know, tense. Are people going to sign up? Are people as enthusiastic as we are? So how's that experience for you guys?
Yeah, because you build this open platform, and you think it's the future, but you know you work on it and you think it and you hope for it, right? And then when other people are enthusiastic, that's really that's fulfilling the promise, and that makes me so happy. So yeah, Of course, I can't hardly say that I expected it. I can only say I worked very hard for it.
Yeah, I mean, this is beyond expectations, right?
Yes, well, and when we started with shouting out that this big league is coming and we have this big prize pool, so yeah, we thought, well, there has to come somebody, and then it was quite late in this subscription period, and it was quite, and then we had only 40 teams and everything. Okay, but now it's going so fast in the last few days. So yeah, well, probably this weekend. I don't know where we're at, but it's going so fast.
I also like to go chat with the early whitelisters, with the investors, with the ICO. And tell them what happens, you know. So they have this, you have this great idea, but do you have proof? Yeah. And then I can invest. Well, now we have some first big proofs.
Yeah, and I spoke with some guys because they find me and then they will call me and then they say, well, how can I do it with this platform? And then they were telling us about algorithms which can make like 300% revenue. And well, I say, well, I really believe what you're saying, but this is where the platform is. We want to prove it to the world what your algorithm is capable of. So then they subscribe, and then well, this will be a hell of a ride for a lot of algorithm builders. Yeah,
so really enthusiastic for you guys, but it's also encouraging to see the enthusiasm of everyone participating. And I mean, I think with any sign-up period, as closer as you get to, because initially the deadline was after the show. We extended that as well due to the success, but I think as closer as you get to the deadline, the more you get the initial submission. So we just saw an interview with one of the teams earlier today. Mattia also interviewed another team, and we will be looking at that interview now.
I am here joined by Igor in a Skype call, and tell me a little bit more about you.
Oh, my name is Igor, and I'm the CEO of Morpheus Trading, and we're building a trading bot as a service.
Okay, and you are part of the RevenYOU League. What is your team name?
We're from Morpheus Trading, so we signed up for the RevenYOU League. And the reason we signed up is, well, we believe that competition drives innovation. And so this is an excellent opportunity for us to test our algorithm and to see how well it performs compared to other algorithms.
Yeah, so and you tell me, how big is your team?
Our team consists of 3 members, core members. So that's me and 2 companions, Dimitri Uskich and Božidar Fujanovic. And I'm the CEO. Dimitri is the Chief Commercial Officer, and Božidar is the Chief Technical Officer.
So besides that, you told me that you want to check if your algorithm is working, and what is your next motivation to join the RevenYOU League?
Well, like I said, the prime motivation is to see how well it compares to other algorithms. And like I said, competition drives innovation, and we believe that by joining up a competition, that will be the drive for us to improve and to work out our algorithm and make it even better.
And how did you get into trading?
Well, I started somewhere in the beginning of 2017, and each of us, all of the team members, had their own experience in the crypto markets. And like many traders, we came to a point where we realized that, and I think it's the same philosophy that RevenYOU has, that algorithms are simply better traders. And mostly because they don't have human emotions, they don't need to sleep, and they can trade at any time. And we came to that realization, and we started working at the algorithm at March of this year. First we tested the algorithm in TradingView, we saw the results, and we started developing it. And now we're at a point where we're running a closed beta with a couple of customers and a couple of trial accounts. And we're getting feedback from our first customers, and we're checking the results. And it's been very good so far.
Okay, thank you very much, Igor. I hear it every time. The algorithms are better than human. I think with that, we go back to the studio.
Yeah, algorithms are better than humans, so maybe if we're not careful, we're all going to be out of a job soon. For now, that's not reality yet. So we previously saw a competitor that was also consisting of a lot of different people. In this case, it's actually an established or an existing company. Do you think that you have a lot of diversity in your participants, so a lot of new startups, a lot of existing software companies? Like, how do you guys expect that to develop? I don't know what analytics you already have, what demographics.
Well, we speak with investors. And what you see is that the more agile, smaller ones, they are willing to go for it. What they see is that, well, we can showcase the whole world our capabilities, and we can reach the whole world, so we can, be bigger, grow. What you see at the big companies, they see is something. They're a bit more afraid.
Yeah, but I mean for the revenue leak, so for the participants of the competition.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So the big companies, they want to, but as I spoke backwards with Ola, and he said, well, in our team is one of a bigger company, but they're not officially.
Yeah, so not in official capacity, but still, I mean, as you said before, even though it's accessible, you probably expect a lot of the people joining to have affinity with software, so then it makes sense you're already working at a company.
Well, there are also companies that created an algorithm and want to find investors, so they want to find a market who use their algorithm. And I've spoken with a company that does that, and then he said, well, I'm going to put it on your platform, and then we see how it goes, and we will take all the prize money because we will win, they said.
That's a good attitude, right? Yeah. That's what you want.
And then when this algorithm is here, they have a total market of everybody in the world who can invest with their algorithm. So they have a very big market through our platform.
Yeah. So I would even encourage the really big investors, the bankers, just go and put your team on it. Why not?
So bankers, don't be scared.
Change the name. Don't put your good name on the streets, but just go for it.
Yeah. Very well. And with that, we've talked a lot now for a while about the back end, so the developers, the revenue leak. Let's go back to the front end, so the users, the app. So say me personally, for example, no experience with trading, no experience with software development. I download your app once it's launched in February. What happens? What do I do? Can you explain how that will work?
Yeah, I can explain it.
That's great.
I have some pictures how I can show it to you. This is really from the point of the user.
Yeah.
So if the user comes to our platform and he says, well, I would like to investigate some of the algorithms, you can say, well, for example, my profile is I don't want to invest in bombs and grenades and tobacco, but so this is your profile. And then you see an overview of algorithms, and you can select this is the revenue of a specific period, for example, 1 month, and then you see this algorithm had a revenue of 45%, and you see them, the top 10 algorithms for you, you see them in the list, and you can scroll through it, and then you just click on it, and then you see this, for example, more information about this algorithm. If you scroll a bit up, you also see a few buttons. You say something about the team, the stats, the updates, everything what's about this algorithm. And when you really like it, you just hit the button play, like you do with a song on Spotify. We make it that easy for you. And then you see, well, you want to play this algorithm, and you go for it, and then you see this overview of your amount of money you have in your total portfolio, and you see your 4 algorithms, for example, running for you, and you see the total change of your of the algorithms, the revenue in total in the last period. And if you want to raise, you can do that. If you want to stop, you can do that. If you want to see more details, you can do that. So we will make it very easy for the user in a very good overview to see what you can do. And one also very beautiful thing about this app is there's a connection to all the trading platforms. So in one overview, you see your algorithm, your amount of capital on the Binance, on Bitfinex, on all of these exchanges. So you don't have to go to all these pages, and it's API connected, so it's always real time.
There was one last thing. Right above your app, you see the amount of U tokens you still have. Every time the bots makes a trade, you use some of the tokens, and this is our token, where it's where the smart contracts are all driven by.
Yeah, because we haven't talked about a U token. Maybe you can give me a very short summary, because that's the token, like we said, that powers revenue. Can you explain that very concise?
Yeah, I can do that. Because we have created this token to make sure that that you have a tool where you can pay your algorithms with. So when your algorithm makes a trade, you pay some tokens. So this is how you spend them, and we have also created a token sale, and there we give out the tokens in advance. So this is coming from the 8th of August. The token sale starts.
So from that point on, you can gain access to these tokens as a user.
And then you get a big discount. In the beginning, you get a big bonus in number of tokens you get. So if you are early there, you have more tokens for the same amount of money, so you can let your algorithms work longer.
Yeah,
and you can already sign up for that. We call it whitelisting. You can already whitelist yourself, so you're in front of the row for the biggest bonus.
Yeah, so you have a head start as opposed to when you download the app at the beginning of February.
We can dive real deep in this, because the token consists also in several things where we make it very, for example, we make it a very stable investment. But then you have to look into the white paper, because we have really sorted out everything for you, that if you want to invest in the tokens, it's also a very interesting thing to do as well.
Yeah, so if you
check out the white paper.
Yeah, so if you'd want more, you know, if you already have some affinity with the subject, you're like, well, this is very basic. It's supposed to be, but read the white paper, and I'm sure that you guys have explained it thoroughly there. So as we reach the end, let's wrap it all up again. I think the dates specifically are really important. So if you haven't signed up yet and you're watching this, RevenYOU.io, there's no sign-up fee, and you still have some time left, but there's no harm in already signing up. Need to make sure that you do sign up by the 1st of August, if I'm correct. That is, make sure you sign up before that. Else, you can still sign up, but you have kind of a handicap. Then start of November rather. So 5th of November. It's been delayed for a month to give more people access again. We've talked about accessibility. I feel like half the time here. So
then the final start from the 5th of November.
Yeah, that's when we start playing with real money, both in terms of the prize money that is available and the fact that you play with actual money.
Yep.
So phase 2, can you shortly again reiterate how many chances you have and the amount of money you can access?
Well, so once again, the top 3 algorithms, they get the teams get 6 Ethereum per round. So we have several rounds where we give this. 4 shows, and we give 2 most innovative teams. We give them also 6 Ethereum, and we have the 5 random teams that also gain 6 Ethereum. So everybody can win during this contest.
So
the coming months we give away 300 Ethereums.
Yeah, so that's already 50,000 euros. That's just being given away.
Yeah.
Very well. More importantly, if you end up, so that's again, phase 2 starts 1st of August, ends 5th of November. If you are in the top 10 of phase 2, you gain a chance to participate for the real prize. Which, Colin, I'll give you the honor of.
Yeah, the big money. So you see these from position 4 till 7 is also real interesting prizes already. If you earn 35 Ethereum, that's quite good.
That's good.
And if you're third, you receive 63 Ether. And if you're second, 210 Ether. And if you're first, 350 Ether. So this is real big prize money. So we are the biggest algorithm contest in the world, we can say.
In terms of prize money.
In terms of prize money.
I mean, you had a lot of participants, so maybe we'll approach that as well.
And by the time, you know, when you're here, you're an A brand in algorithm team.
Yeah, it's also a lot of publicity so if you are a developer and thinking of signing up.
It's a rocket lift off for your next career. Yeah.
Very well. And then 1st of February is also when the actual app launches and it becomes available for everyone to use. And I imagine that's something that you guys must be looking forward to as well.
Yes, of course. Yeah. We're building already on this application. The wireframe is becoming more solid, and we are finding the developers who are helping to build our application. But this application will be in the first quarter of 2019. It will be on the market. Yeah. So we have a little bit of time left to make sure that you have really good working, easy accessible app where what you can use for your algorithms.
One thing is that
trading.
If you listening to this, you say, well, I want to help us, just email us. We need developers, we need coding skills, we need every talented guy and girl who can help us out.
Okay, have Stefan do everything, right?
Well, grow a little bit, but Stefan will be the inventor and the core, I think.
So I think with that would be a good point to wrap up. So one final time to reiterate, signups are still open. There's no sign-up fee. You can't really lose anything if you're a beginning coder. Till the 1st of August, make sure you sign up before that for phase 2. Phase 2 from 1st of August to 5th of November, and then for the real prize money, 5th of November till beginning of February. And with that, I think we have had a great show. We've seen a lot of people here who are already really excited to get started. We've talked in depth about the jury, about everything that RevenYOU entails, and I'm really looking forward to see how the league shapes up.
Really?
And I assume you guys as well, because you're sitting there smiling very enthusiastically.
Yeah, we're going for it.
Yeah, well, that's great to hear. And with that, we will sign off here at RevenYOU TV. See you next time.